As the build-to-rent development market gains momentum, we have introduced new inputs in ARGUS EstateMaster DF and DM to capture additional leasing assumptions and improve the accuracy of forecasting these long-term development opportunities. The first enhancement to the rental income input assumptions was applying the rent rate option to each individual tenant line item. This allows the rental income of different components of the asset to be calculated on a different basis. For example, residential units can be entered on a rate per unit per week, while retail space can be entered on a rate per square metre per annum. There are now multiple ways to control what happens to a tenancy at the end of its initial term. It can be set to expire, where the rental income for that tenancy ceases. This is how the rental income in the application was treated previously. It can be set to renew, where the tenancy continues at the current rental rate, with an additional renewal fee payable by the owner. This income stream continues until the end of the nominated hold period. It can also be set to relet, where it is assumed that the initial lease has expired and is relet on new terms. When this option is selected, you can define a reletting fee, a turnover cost to get the premises ready for a new tenant, a new rental rate, a lease-up period between the previous lease expiring and the new lease commencing, and a repeat cycle that indicates how often to repeat the reletting process until the end of the nominated hold period. And finally, if there are multiple units captured on a single line, you can use the blend option to split them between a percentage portion being relet and the balance being renewed. For these long-term tenancies that are being renewed or relet, there is no need to manually nominate a lease span or terminal value date for them. Instead, a new preference has been introduced that allows you to select a defined hold period from the start of the investment phase, at which point all the rental income ceases and the terminal value of the asset is calculated. A new build-to-rent summary report in ARGUS EstateMaster DF and DM is designed for projects where the objective is to hold and lease the asset upon completion. The report is divided into three key sections: the project timeline, which shows the timeline for both the development and investment phases of the project; the development phase, which shows a summary of the costs and other cash flow activity that is occurring within that phase, along with a net cash flow chart; and the investment phase, which shows a summary of the rental income and associated leasing expenditure, including any other cash flow activity that is occurring within that phase. Its primary focus is on the first year of operation, and then a further 4 years during stabilisation. A key component of this report are the performance indicators for each phase, in particular the IRR and NPV. These are calculated by adopting a handover value as a notional disposal value at the end of the development phase and a notional acquisition value at the start of the investment phase. You can control how the handover value is calculated via the preferences by selecting it to be based on a target equity IRR or project IRR, or you can manually define your own value to adopt. Loans in ARGUS EstateMaster DF and DM can now be configured so they can be refinanced by up to 2 other sources of financing. Once a loan is set to manually mature in the preferences, you will then have the option to select which loans will refinance that loan and how they will be split on a percentage basis. This is ideal where a construction loan needs to be refinanced by multiple investment loans with different interest and fee structures upon completion of a project. If a loan has been set up as a principal and interest loan, this new feature also allows the periodic payments to be split between 2 loans during its term. A few improvements have been made to the ARGUS EstateMaster DF and DM cash flow reports to offer additional insights into how your projects are performing. To streamline the reporting of project financing, a concise view option has been introduced on the cash flow. It suppresses all the details of each loan, so only the critical information is reported, such as drawdowns, interest and fees, repayments, the loan balance, and the cash flow. In ARGUS EstateMaster DM, the cost-to-date progress for each line item can now be easily identified with the new percentage data bar in the forecast summary. A previous cost-to-date column has also been introduced, reporting the cost-to-date up to but excluding the current period, and a construction cost cash flow report has also been added to the print menu, focusing on just the detailed construction cost section along with the cost category subtotals. In ARGUS EstateMaster DM, you can now add new construction cost categories up to a maximum of 20. Each category also has their own escalation profile, so this provides not only the ability to classify construction costs in more detail, but escalate them at different rates. Once construction costs have been categorized, a subtotal for each will be displayed at the bottom. As the industry changes and more develop and hold projects form part of a developer's strategy, longer monthly cash flow reporting becomes more critical. In ARGUS EstateMaster DF and DM, we have extended the maximum number of time periods that you can define to 600, effectively allowing you to model a 50-year development and investment cash flow forecast on a monthly basis.